Hi everybody, let's make hot sauce, fiery fermented hot sauce to be exact. Welcome back to Brelsford Family Homestead. I'm Darcy. I am so excited to share this with you today. This is delicious. So it comes from this book here that I've really been enjoying making different recipes and canning. This is not a canning recipe, but it is fermenting and you can find it in here. I recently finished making the Sriracha style of this fiery fermented hot sauce and it is delicious. I have shared it with several people and everybody loves it. So I want to make some more of that. And there's two other variations, a Yucatan and an Asian. And I'm going to try the Yucatan and see if I like it. So I have all of my things already weighed out. You're going to need red bell peppers and your hot peppers, whichever kind you want to use. So I have some sugar rush peach here and some habaneros. You also need sugar and garlic and some water. So it's pretty easy. Also, you're going to be using a wide mouth jar and you can use this as a weight. It's a 2-ounce mason jar. It just fits right down inside and that keeps all of the product underneath the liquid, which you need. But I am going to be using these today. These are fermentation weights and I actually got a 4-pack of these for a really reasonable price. So I'm excited to use these. So we'll get everything together and get started. There is a couple more things you need. You are going to be processing this in a food processor to chop it up, and you're going to need a cloth and a rubber band to cover your jar, like cheesecloth or something. I have some 100% cotton fabric that I'll use, rubber band, and gloves. You need gloves. I'm just going to be using these dishwashing gloves, but handling all of these hot peppers, you don't want to do it barehanded, trust me. I have already weighed these. I think that I said that, and washed them, but now we need to stem them and de-seed them. I like to use this little tool. It is a corer for tomatoes and strawberries. It helps you to scrape out the seeds, especially on things like the peppers. And after we do that, we just want to kind of cut them up into uniform size to put into the food processor. You can also use this if you want to use that to take out I just forgot the name. Why can't I think of the name? Oh well, you see what I'm talking about. Oh, you ever have that? Some days you just like, whoo, totally just slips your mind. I will say that if you open any of these up and there's mold in it, like seeds are moldy or whatever, just toss that and use a different one. Even if the rest of the pepper looks good, just don't mess with it. Now when this is going, you'll be checking on it every day, or if you skip a day, it's not the end of the world. There will be something that might scare you if you've never done anything like this before. It's called Kahm yeast. It's K-A-H-M. And it's just kind of like a white film. Sometimes there's a little, sometimes there's a lot. And each time you check it, you just scrape that off. Put your fresh top on and go. It's not mold and it will not hurt you. To get these out of my way, I'm going to just go ahead and just kind of rough chop them and get them in the food processor. I am going to do the Yucatan first because it doesn't have anything added. The Sriracha, you add the garlic and the sugar while you're processing the peppers. And so this way I will not have to wash my food processor in between batches. When I made the Sriracha last time, I did have a little bit of spillage at first, and I think that's because of the added garlic and sugar. There was a little bit more in the jar than say there will be for this, but it does recommend that you put it on a plate just in case it spills over. I didn't have it spilling over then. It was just getting it together and putting the weight in. It was spilling. So just know that you're going to need a dark place to put it. Depending on the temperature of your house and the time of year that you're making this will depend on how fast it processes. I started my last one in September and finished it in October. And it took, I want to say it was 3.5 weeks. You know, so it was cooler weather and cooler where I kept it. You weigh this first and before processing them. Sometimes some of these recipes can, at least to me, seem a little bit confusing when there's a weight. It's like, do you weigh it before or after? And this one you weigh before. Now, if you don't cut these all up in exactly the same size, it's, you know, it's not a safety issue because you're going to be blending them up in the food processor anyway. But having similar sizes helps it to blend more evenly and easily. With peppers, you can interchange them. So if there is a pepper that you would prefer to use, you could definitely do that. If you want to use a jalapeno or some other, maybe not as spicy pepper, you could do that. If you're one of those crazy people who likes Carolina Reapers or something, you could use that as well. But you might want to use a mask, some eye protection, something, handling those. I got all of the peppers for both types of hot sauce cut up, and my food processor is ready for the first one. But I wanted to show you, I did have one that had some mold. So these are not suitable for fermentation, so just toss those. Now to our food processor, we are going to add a 1/4 cup of water and 2 teaspoons, let me double check, 2 teaspoons of salt. I did clean up a little bit, and I got some of the seeds on the floor, and it just made me think, you know, that we have to be aware of that if you have small kids, pets too, but kids, my kids run around without shoes on all the time, and there is spiciness in those seeds and the oil on there, and they could be walking around, get those on their feet, and then all of a sudden it's like burning their feet. So just be mindful of that. I'm washing everything down, and things that I'm using, I'm putting directly into the dishwasher to make sure nobody is accidentally touching it. If my husband does some dishes, that he's not like, hey, why are my fingers tingling? Because he does not wear dish gloves, and neither do I, to the dismay of my mother. I'll plug my food processor in here. Make sure we got all of that water, and then we're gonna blend this up really good. I'm going to get a spatula to kind of make sure all of that gets down in there. Now this will not be as red as the other sauce that I made, like your store-bought Sriracha, because of the color of the hot peppers that I'm using. So, but as long as it tastes good, that's what it matters. Whew. Yeah, that smells hot. I think I'm going to use a funnel just to be on the safe side. If this was a blender, it would be a lot easier to just pour right in and not spill. Definitely get in there with a spatula, and I suppose you could use a blender. I don't know. It does say food processor, so maybe the consistency of a blender would be different. So if you want to use a blender, maybe call Ball and ask them if that is permissible. I wouldn't think it would have anything to do with safety. I'll ask around so you don't have to. All right, that is gonna be great. Now I am gonna put a label on this, on which one is which. See, all right. Then we need our weight. So I guess I'll show you, if you're gonna use a jar, you're just gonna put it in just like this. You can press it down a little bit to make sure the liquid is over the peppers. I'm going to use my little fermentation lid. Woohoo! All right, I'll put the cloth over it with the rubber band. All right, let's get the other one going, and then we'll label them both and put them in the cabinet. Ah, I'm dropping some. Okay, I need to wash my gloves because like I said about kids, I'm going to touch the sugar bowl and things like that, and I have all of the oil from that on my gloves. Let's go wash them. Okay, so for the sriracha, let me just double check here. We are going to add 6 cloves of peeled garlic or 3 teaspoons of bottled minced oil-free garlic plus 3 tablespoons of white sugar. The 2 teaspoons of salt, which I have a half a teaspoon here. Oh, looks like I'm gonna have to go get more sugar out of the pantry, I think. Let's see, maybe it is enough. Oh, I'm gonna make a mess. I'll get one more. Here is my 6 cloves of garlic. Ta-da! It's full. All right. And we need the water. There'll be vinegar added to this one, but it is added at the end after it has fermented. All right, I'll get this one bottled up and then we'll get them labeled. That's what that looks like. And the consistency of this will totally change as it ferments. It'll break down and become a little bit more smooth. It is really a neat but easy thing to make. And if you have hot sauce lovers in your life, this would be a great time to make some for birthdays or Christmas or whatever gift giving days you might have. This one, the level is up a little bit higher than the other one. Let's see if I can show you. See that one and then this one, because there's sugar and then the garlic in it. It's still not up at the top, but watch that, since I did have mine kind of overflow a little bit last time. Get washed up and then we'll get these labeled and put away. They're all bottled up, and I put just some painter's tape with Sharpie on there. I have which one it is, if it's Sriracha or Yucatan, and the date that I expect it to be finished. The recipe is 3 weeks or longer, and the last one did take over 3 weeks. So 3 weeks from today would be November 2nd. So I'll start to really be paying attention to see if there's any bubbles or anything like that. If there's not, it will be finished and we'll take it out, add any ingredients that has to go in, like the Yucatan, I think is cilantro, lime juice, and maybe something else. The Sriracha is just vinegar. So I'll bring you along for the process, but I'm not going to bring you along every single day that I check it. That would just be repetitive and kind of crazy. But I do want you to be able to see how it changes over time, and I want you to be able to see that calm yeast up close. So you're not worried thinking that you have mold and that you're going to poison yourself or whatever. This is really easy and it's very tasty. So I'm going to sit these in the cabinet and we'll see you back the next time I check these. Let's check these out. I mixed these up on Thursday Today is Sunday afternoon. I went out of town. All right. Barely noticeable. I don't know if you'll be able to tell on the camera here. There is a little white right there. That is some of that calm yeast. Maybe you can see some bubbling as the fermenting is going. So I'm going to find the the lid, or not the lid, the weight in there, because it's risen above it. I probably should be wearing gloves. This is where using the little, what do you call it? The small jar is easier because you can grab it and not get any of this on your fingers. Now, that was barely visible, but I should have scraped that calm yeast off of there first. Oh well, get it tomorrow. So I like to mix this all together. I've got some fresh cloths over here that I will cover this with again. Which one did we do? This says fire ferment. Okay, so this didn't have anything extra in it. So I will put it inside this one. All right, I'm gonna rinse this off. Well, no, I can use the back of this to get that stuff out. And I'm still gonna rinse it off. I don't want to give a place to anything on there. All right. That's wet, so be real careful not to drop it. All right. This is a clean cloth. I do wash these in the washing machine, but I cut a whole bunch of these with some cloth that I had for doing things like this. All right, I don't see this one. All of the liquid is above at the moment. There isn't as much of the chunks. Let's see. My fingers are probably going to be feeling the heat here. I might not be a fan of these fermenting lids, guys. I mean, it's kind of hard to get a hold of them. We'll see. I'll still give it a shot. And obviously they're a little slippery when wet, but the little jars, they stuck up and I could just get a hold of them and pick them right out. Can you see the bubbling happening there? That's the fermenting. Give this a stir. When I did this before too, I didn't notice a lot of the calm yeast at first. It takes a little bit before it shows up, and it never did have like a lot of it. Nothing that was alarming. Not that it should be alarming anyway, but whoop. Ah. I'm starting to think I don't like these as much. All right, fresh one for this. And I don't know what I did with my, there it is, rubber band. All right, guys, we'll check on this in another day or two. Sorry for the noise, I'm canning, but I wanted you to see this calm yeast on here. I kept checking and checking and there never was any, but it's colder, and it was in a cabinet that stays cold. So I put it on the counter next to something warm, and there we go. Not that I want to force it to have that, but I wanted you to be able to see it. So I'm just going to scrape that off, and I'm going to still let this go a little bit longer because there are some, I scraped a little too much off of there. There are still some bubbles going. I don't know if you can see it coming up in the middle there and on the side. So it's still fermenting, and it's a week or so past the first date that it would be ready. I'm gonna just go ahead and keep it going until those bubbles stop. It's interesting that this one does not have the calm yeast, but this one does. So I'm going to take a paper towel and wipe out inside there, and I'll mix it up. Put a jar back in there to weigh it down. Check in again on it later. It's time to finish up our hot sauces and get them bottled. This is going to be the Yucatan, so it needs a half a cup of cilantro, 2 cloves of garlic, and a cup of lime juice. The Sriracha just needs 1 cup of white vinegar. I believe all the things will fit in here and we can stir them up, but we'll see. I am going to be bottling some of it up for use in my fridge, and then other things for gifting. I thought this would be perfect for the Yucatan. It is a bottle I was using for kombucha when I was brewing that. And then I have some of these, I think they were from like a sparkling lemonade or something, and I put Sriracha in this before and it was perfect, but it will not hold the whole thing, just so you know. So let's get the ingredients put in. All right, let's make sure we got the right one. Let's see, this is Sriracha, so it needs the white vinegar. Ooh, okay, so pretty sure that maybe that won't all fit. We'll see. We're gonna try it. I did notice that the Sriracha is definitely like chunkier. I don't know if it'll come through on the video than the Yucatan, but I know it's going to be delicious. So we'll get the garlic in there. And this is not canning, obviously. This is just fermenting. So we do need to keep this refrigerated once we're done. Get all of that cilantro in there. I have never had Yucatan hot sauce before, so I am looking forward to having this. If you have, let me know and what your favorite thing to use it on is. Ooh, look, it fit. Awesome. I'm sure that this will need some time to really all meld together to have the true taste, but since we're here, let's just give it a little taste. I don't need that much. Just a little bit. I'm seeing if it's going to give me a big kick. I just chewed up a seed. That's good. I don't like it as much as I like the Sriracha though. Let's give that a try, even though I've made this one before. That one is way spicier. That's very interesting. That one is a lot spicier, and it's delicious. I think I'll pour some in my measuring cup first. It seems like I might have less chance of making a mess. This is the Sriracha. I think I've decided that I'm going to let the, Yucatan sit in the refrigerator, of course, for a little while before I bottle it up, just so everything's in there together and it can marry nicely. Okay, well, that's going to take forever. Let me get this done and I'll bring you back when it's all in the bottle. I got almost all of the Sriracha in this bottle. I have just a little bit left. I guess I'll have to eat it. And I'm going to keep the Yucatan in this bottle just for a few days in the fridge, and then I'll test it again before I bottle it up to have in my fridge, but also to gift to some loved ones who love hot sauce. These will be good in the fridge for up to 1 year if you don't eat it before then. So let me know in the comments below if you try this and what your favorite thing to eat hot sauce on is. Thanks for coming along. Until next time, God bless.